Hello all, just to let you know, welcome to our presentation. We're just going to wait a few more minutes to let a few other people join. You've probably noticed that your mics and your video are off. They have been disabled for this webinar. Again, for those who just joined us, welcome to our webinar. We're just waiting a little bit longer to allow other people to join the webinar. You have probably already noticed that your mics and your video are off. They are disabled for this webinar. You will be able to use the chat function though. So again, we're just waiting a few more moments to let other people join us. For those who just joined us, we're just going to wait a few more minutes. We still have people joining us. Again, you will have noticed that your mics and your videos are disabled, and they will be for this webinar, but you will be able to use the chat. So we'll just wait a few more moments to let people continue to join. Okay, it looks like most people have joined our webinar. So welcome again. My name is Raquel and I will be moderating the webinar. Thank you for joining us. And for this Lunch and Learn, what's happening to recycling when it gets to the MRF, a virtual tour of the material recovery facility and Q&A. This is our first virtual webinar, but we hope to do some more in the future. So I'm just going to admit a few more people. So before we get started, we'll just go over a few housekeeping items. Participants' mics and cameras have been disabled, as I mentioned. However, you still can use the chat and reactions tools. We will be answering questions and at the end during the Q&A, but feel free to enter your questions into the chat at any time. My colleague Allison will be monitoring the chat and she will compile your questions that we will take and then ask Steve during the Q&A. As this is only an hour lunch and learn, we ask please keep your questions to topics related to recycling and MRF operations. Please note that we will be recording and creating a transcript of this presentation. Both will be available on our website at a later date. If you are interested in more information on the MRF, we also have the Curbside Recycling Sorting It Out video, which can be viewed on the Curbside website. I have added a copy of the video link to the chat for those who are interested. All right, so I'm just making sure that everyone else is here. Perfect. So now I would like to introduce today's presenter, Waste and Recycling Manager Steve. Steve graduated from Dalhousie University with an advanced major in earth sciences in 2001 and holds Alberta certificates in landfill and compost facility operations. Steve has worked with the Lethbridge Waste Recycling Utility for 15 years, initially having responsibilities for recycling depot and disposal operations and project planning and delivery. In 2016, he shifted to full-time operational oversights of the Waste Recycling Center, moving his office to the facility and building the current team of technical and operational professionals that provides services for the community today. With that support of operating partners and departmental management, he provides leadership to over 30 workers responsible for scale house, landfill, MRF, compost, and household hazardous waste operations. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raquel. That was a wonderful introduction. And thank you again to everybody who's joined us for this first virtual webinar, Lunch and Learn, that we're providing here from the Waste and Recycling Utility. We want to give you guys all an introduction and tour to the Waste and Recycling Center and MRF in specific. And Raquel, I believe my screen is presenting, showing a nice picture of Canada.
Yes, it's showing the world right now. Yes, correct.
Excellent. So I wanted to start from a little bit further out. We have guests from across the country, and even some international folks have registered for this webinar, so we're really happy about that. And the Lethbridge Waste and Recycling Center in MRF is located in the county, or in Lethbridge County, just north of the city of Lethbridge, which is about 2 hours south of the city of Calgary and 2 hours north of the American border with Montana. So I'm just going to bring us in here so you can see a little bit closer where we are. And I'm sorry. All right. Driving my Google Earth. So here's the Lethbridge Waste and Recycling Center. It's, like I said, located just north of the city of Lethbridge. We have about 1,000 acres of land there, where we provide all of the waste and recycling processing for the city of Lethbridge and many regional customers, as well as business customers in the city and region. The facility, as I mentioned, is in the county of Lethbridge, and while the site is wholly owned by the city of Lethbridge and operational direction and oversight provided by the city of Lethbridge, it is within the county, and we have some oversight from the county through their development and zoning authority, as well as we operate under the direction of Alberta environment approvals that provide us direction on specifically for the landfill and composting facilities. The facility includes a dual scaling in and out scales located here, Class 2 landfill located here where we dispose of the garbage. It includes a transfer station, which is a unique facility to have at a landfill, but it's something that we use during Lethbridge's well-known high wind events. So when the wind is blowing very strong, we were able to take and shift our operations inside of a building where we can process waste using a baler, and there's some bagged waste sitting outside the facility in this picture that I'm showing now. We also have extensive litter control fencing that is associated with managing the wind and litter that can happen at a site like ours in our conditions. We have a public drop-off area, which is available to residents and businesses to dispose of smaller amounts of residential or commercial waste. It also provides really convenient, safe sorting for recyclables and hazardous waste, electronic waste, paint, tires, and things of that nature. We also have a construction material drop-off, which is located here. The construction drop-off is an area that was added to support our business recycling strategy that the city of Lethbridge is implementing. And at that area, we can recycle metals, drywall, shingles, different types of scrap wood, and different types of scrap aggregates, such as concrete and asphalt pavement. We have a small composting facility, and then the star of the show today, the MRF, located here in the center. This is just a photo of the outside of the MRF here to give you a sense of the facility we have. It opened 2 years ago. It is the 2-year anniversary just about 3 weeks ago of curbside recycling in Lethbridge. and the facility opened to support that 2 years ago as well. So we're really proud of that. It was constructed and designed specifically for the City of Lethbridge recycling program to manage the recyclables that would be generated through that collection program, as well as with capacity to support business recycling needs, as well as regional customers that may want to use it. Basically, the facility is around 45,000 square foot of building, purpose-built to house the recycling equipment, and it can process about 8 tons per hour on a single or double shift. You can increase capacity in that way. So without further ado, I'll take you guys inside and we can see what happens inside the Lethbridge MRF. So we're looking at the tipping floor for mixed recyclables here. So this would be material from City of Lethbridge curbside program, as well as some of our regional customers, and a small amount of commercial mixed recyclables. In the north end of the building, we have 2 large overhead doors where trucks can come and deliver the recyclables to the tipping floor, and then the large loader will manage the extra material on this tipping floor or stockpile, as well as load the system up here, which he's doing right now. The facility and processing system was designed by MachineX and selected by the City of Lethbridge after an RFQ. And it was all built around the City of Lethbridge program. So we looked at what we were going to generate, the amount of material and the type of material we would have to process, and then we worked with partners to design a process that was tailored to provide the right equipment to do the best job of recycling for the community of Lethbridge. The system includes a number of quality control buildings, a number of processing equipment, which we will look at, and a large baler, which you can see over here. From this kind of vantage point, you can see some of the residuals to our process. This is unfortunately garbage that was put in the recycling carts by accident that has been picked up by staff. Here is plastic film, which is being removed by staff, which is not part of the City of Lethbridge recycling program. And here is large scrap metal, which again is not meant to be in the blue cart. So it's being removed by staff. You can also see from this area sorted cardboard, sorted mixed paper, and sorted newspaper. But there's more there we'll have a look at. So I'm just going to take us into the first phase of this tour. So, we have a pause in the line here. The staff are dealing with some organics that wasn't supposed to be in the blue cart. So this is the pre-sort room, and that's exactly the job that the folks who work here do. The staff in this room are removing objects that shouldn't be in the recycling, but have been put in by accident. And they will either dispose of them or put them in a separate recycling slot as necessary. At the moment, they're pulling off mostly garbage and plastic film. They do, unfortunately, often have to pull off other problematic items that can be dangerous to the equipment or their coworkers, such as sharp objects like knives or explosive objects like live ammunition, propane canisters, and things of that nature. So the staff here have a really important job protecting the equipment as well as their coworkers, and just cleaning up that recyclables before it goes on into the stream. And we really do appreciate, I know there's a lot of Lethbridge residents and community members here, and we really do appreciate people taking the effort to put the right things and learn through the Waste Wizard what should be in and out of their cart, and only put recyclables in their cart, because it makes everybody's day here a lot easier when they're not dealing with food waste or grass or dog waste and things of that nature. The other thing we ask people to do is not put bagged items in the cart here in Lethbridge, because as you saw there, the staff don't always have the ability to open those bags and empty it. So if someone bags their recyclables, it may get missed and not get recycled, which is unfortunate and not their intention. Move to the next phase here of our tour. So this is the first sorting machine that we use, and it's a cardboard sorting screen. It's a 2-deck cardboard sorting screen, and you can see the 2 decks there, the first deck here and the second deck here. The purpose of those 2 decks, and it was just demonstrated by a piece of cardboard really well, is to allow the cardboard to flip over and make sure that no material stays blinded on top of it. The way these decks work is the cardboard is moved across the screen, the spinning discs, and cardboard goes over the top here, and paper and containers, it falls in between the screens or off the tails because they're slanted. You can't quite tell here, but they are slanted down. We do have one staff member who works outside of the OCC sorting equipment, or the cardboard sorting equipment, and he's doing quality control. So he's looking for any paper or containers that inadvertently got onto this cardboard, sorted cardboard line, and he has a chance to collect them, and actually he can return them through a chute to the system so that they will be sorted in a future sorting phase, and there's an opportunity to recover them in their right place. This next sorting equipment here is the glass breaker fine screen. So that's this set of steel spinning discs that I'm kind of showing with my cursor. The material comes off of a conveyor belt onto that screen. That screen with the spinning discs is designed to break glass, because glass is not part of the City of Lethbridge program, so it breaks it and takes it out to a waste bin. It also takes smaller items. So we typically say in Lethbridge that if it's smaller than the palm of your hand or 2 inches by 2 inches, it's too small to be recycled. So this screen is also designed to remove those smaller items to a waste bin. Anything that's passes this screen is then waterfalled through this motion here onto the Mach 1, which is a newspaper screen, and I'm just going to change views here to give you guys a different look at that. So the newspaper screen, this particular screen that we have, has three different decks or groups of groupings of these spinning shafts. It has rubber stars, whereas the other screens have had steel stars. We can adjust the angle and speed of those screens to try to capture as much newspaper as we can, because that's the purpose of this machine. And I know it's hard to tell in this video, but this machine is grabbing newspaper and white paper, and it slowly pulls that newspaper and white paper up to the top of the screen, where it falls over onto a conveyor belt for quality control checking. And other papers that are not newspaper or containers, they're meant to fall off the tail end or through the gaps in the screen so that they can be carried on using the belt that you see just on the edge of the screen for sorting by the next machine. This is just taking us inside a quality control sort room. So just outside of this room, the Mach 1 that we were just looking at is right here. And the sorted newspaper is being dropped onto this conveyor belt, and we have 3 staff that are doing quality control cleanup. Their job is to remove any cardboard or browns that have been inadvertently selected by the machine, as well as any plastic film, which can unfortunately get into the paper and become a contaminant, or any containers that might be in this newspaper. So clean newspaper, sorted newspaper, falls off the end of the screen, and it ends up in a compartment, a floor compartment underneath this building. There's some chutes here that staff are putting mixed paper in. Mixed paper is a different grade of paper that we manufacture, and that's stored underneath the middle of this room. So they're dropping it through chutes, and it lands in its storage area. And the staff here at the very far end is pulling off cardboard. And again, there's another partition underneath this building, and there's underneath this room, and there's a third storage area for cardboard where that staff is placing the cardboard. In our facility, there's also, you can see just behind this worker here, there's a little chute, and should they find any containers, like a plastic or metal container, they can actually use that chute to drop that container on the underside of this belt, where it'll be returned to the system and can be sorted in the proper place. I'm going to move to the ballistic separator. Okay, so this is a view of the ballistic separator. So the material on this conveyor belt is the material that was negatively selected by the newspaper screen. So that which is not newspaper ends up on this belt, and it's being dumped into the ballistic separator. The ballistic separator is a fairly new piece of equipment in terms of recycling technology. It operates on a different principle than our other screens, which use spinning steel shafts. The ballistic uses oscillating floor plates, which you can see there, that throw the recyclables up in the air, and then fans, which are just behind these grates. So there's 3 fans there that can be directed and set by the staff. And the purpose of that is that the oscillating floor throws the recyclables in the air, and the fans push the paper underneath this conveyor belt over the top of the ballistic separator, while the containers are permitted to fall off the tail in this area here onto the conveyor belt down there for sorting further on in the system. This is a second quality control line in our paper room. Sometimes this line can make either newspaper or mixed paper. Today it's making mixed paper, just based on the flow of material we have. Typically we do have a couple of staff here, and they follow the very similar similar role and duties as folks in the other quality control line that we saw earlier. So they're pulling out cardboard and containers and plastic film from the stream. Okay, so the next sorting phase is containers. So we've moved through sorting out dangerous materials such as knives or plastic danglers and tanglers and such that might wrap cords, hoses that might wrap around our equipment, or propane bottles. Then we've sorted out cardboard. Then we've sorted out newspaper. Then we've sorted out mixed paper, and now we're moving to the container sorting phase of the recycling here. So this conveyor belt shows the material that has been sorted negatively by the ballistic. So that which is not mixed paper as far as the ballistic is concerned. You can see that there's quite a few containers, but there's still some small, heavy 3D cardboard boxes. So things like books or small Amazon boxes, small cracker boxes, those sorts of things still end up on this line. The next sorting process is our magnet. So there's actually, behind this blue hood, there's an electro magnet, which is collecting metal food cans, tin and steel cans, and you can actually see that magnet picks them up and it's dropping them into this storage bunker, which is right here. So if we watch, we can see metal cans falling there. The next phase is plastic sorting. So this is our plastic sorting room. It's our third sort cabin and final sort cabin. Typically there are four to five staff working here. In this room we make four grades of rigid plastics, as well as we sort out beverage containers and clean up any of the fiber, cardboard, and paper that was that made it to this room on accident. The first sorting station is PET, P-E-T, which is #1 recycling symbol. We typically make thermoform PET here. So that individual is throwing forward into the slope floor bunker #1 PET. The next two storage bunkers here and here are for #2 HDPE, high density polyethylene. So that #2 on your recycling symbol, and the workers are throwing forward colored HDPE, and natural. So the difference being colored is either white or a color, and natural is that translucent HDPE that you would find in like a vinegar bottle. So we sort those into two different grades because they have two different markets. The next sorting area down here where these workers are sorting is mixed plastics. So the balance of the plastic, which is numbered 3 through 7, rigid plastic, which is all accepted in our program, is sorted into this next bunker, and we ship it to upgraders who will further sort it into the different constituents of plastics and recycle or manage those as their process dictates. So the mixed plastic goes on for further reprocessing before remarkets. And then lastly, the individual, you can just see down the end, he's working in a cleanup position to try to catch any cardboard or paper which made it to this line before the recycling process ends. So we do have one last storage bunker where we collect more mixed paper that we recycle from this room. Next, we have one more sorting process. We're getting there, and then we'll get to your questions, folks. So the last sorting process is for aluminum cans. And actually, before I go back, I will just point one more thing out in this room. We do pull off aluminum pie plates, which we, as well as beverage containers. So all these staff are either putting beverage containers in these buckets or through these drop-through sheets. So I didn't point that out, but I did want to point out to you guys that we do pull the beverage containers because here in Alberta there is a bottle deposit program which allows us to return those to the program so that they can be counted as recycled beverage containers by the province and contribute to the overall recycling rates in the community, and they also provide a revenue stream to the MRF. So the last stage here is the Eddy Current. So the Eddy Current is this device located here in the center of the screen. It's a high spinning rotor that spins kind of at a high velocity and creates a reverse polarity magnet for aluminum. So essentially what's happening here is anything that's aluminum that makes it onto this belt gets a push by this reverse polarity that's created by the eddy current, and it actually goes, there's sort of a divider chute right here. Trash is allowed to fall close, and aluminum, which you can see there, is allowed to fall further out. All right. And that's, at that point, we've sorted all the recyclables. Just to give you guys a sense of how the sorted materials are stored, I had mentioned this is the paper sorting room. This is the container sorting room that we were just looking at. The paper, so the cardboard, mixed paper, and newspaper are stored in these push-through bunkers here, which all have gates at the end. The metal and plastic grades, as well as the last mixed paper, are stored in these compartments here, which all have individually controlled gates. And then there's this live floor here, which is a type of metal conveyor, which is feeding our baler, which is on the top of the screen here. I'm going to move to a different view so we can have a better look at that baler. So that takes us through the sorting process. Like I say, the staff who operate the baler, which can operate independently from the MRF sorting equipment, can control which material they're baling at which time by opening and closing those doors and working the live floor. And it looks like earlier today they were making some newspaper bales, and they appear to have made some mixed plastic bales more recently, right here at the outfeed of the baler. We do have quite a bit of commodity storage in the facility. So at the moment, we've received this is some business cardboard near us, but we have some plastic being stored here. So this is plastic film, thermoform PET, and mixed plastics, as well as we have cardboard, so sorted cardboard, sorted newspaper, and sorted newspaper and sorted mixed paper here. You can kind of see the difference there. News is a little more white, and mixed has a little bit more brown in it. That's really the difference there. And then we have metal cans and aluminum cans on the end. The last thing I was hoping to show you guys, and I'm not even sure if it's happening at the moment, is our loading docks. So we do have 3 loading docks, and you can see the forklifts parked there, where we will load out materials that will go to North American recycling markets. So we can receive materials with those loading docks as well as ship it out to wherever we may recycle it in Canada or across North America. And that is, I think that's all.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Steve. So we're now in the webinar, or the question and answer portion of the webinar. Allison has sent me a few of your questions so far. If you haven't had an opportunity to ask your question yet, feel free to enter it in the chat, and we will hopefully have time to get to all of your questions. Okay, so the first question is from Jeff. And he says, the speed of the belts seem very fast. Would slower speeds allow for better quality control, or is that not an issue?
Yeah, that's a good observation. And yes, absolutely. There is, it's not quite as intuitive as that, because if we slow the belts, those belts receive material from a sorting machine as well as provide material to the QC staff. So if we have to adjust the whole system at once. We can't just slow those down, or actually, believe it or not, you can put more material on the belt. So there's a lot of tweaking based on the material that comes in. And believe it or not, a faster belt helps the staff, because if you can imagine that material is falling off the sorting machine and it could stack on top of each other if the belt is going too thin, so it could stack thickly. Whereas if we speed up the belt, then it allows it to pull the material as it falls off away. And it provides a better spread of the material to the staff. So yes and no. It's not as easy as that. But good observation.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll move on to the next question. So Paul would like to know, can Steve speak to the fire safety system at the MRF?
Sure, yeah, so we're in the county of Lethbridge, so we do not have city of Lethbridge water. So we actually have a fire supply pond, which was designed by engineers and sized specifically to provide fire suppression for the MRF and other buildings and facilities here at the Waste and Recycling Center. It's just to the east of the facility, and you would have seen it earlier on. We have then a separate building which has a fire pump house, which can draw water from that storage pond. And we have the building sprinkled for fire. So there's sprinklers throughout the building, including the sort cabins, and lots of fire extinguishers too.
Perfect. And then we have another question from Jeff, and he says, how much is recovered from the beverage containers? And Steve, Allison also chirped in here with some information for this one. So she said, regarding tons from beverage containers, we have an outbound tonnage from May 14th, start of opening of the MRF of 60 tons. So did you want to add on to that information that Alice provided?
No. I think that's for the correct amount. So it's not a huge amount of material, but it is a significant recyclable that we want to recover back to the beverage container program.
Perfect. All right. And then Monica would like to know, any talk about styrofoam processing in the future?
Styrofoam processing comes up often. It's a very, very difficult recyclable to process for a number of reasons. One is sorting it. Two is getting it clean enough to recycle. It's something that we are monitoring closely. There's no immediate plans in Lethbridge to add a styrofoam recycling program. Not sure if we would be able to add it to the blue card. I think that would probably be going too far. If it ever was added, it would probably be at the depots where people can do the sorting themselves. But my best advice is to try to avoid styrofoam and tell the stores you shop at that you would prefer not to have it in the packaging. And some stores like Walmart, I believe, have corporate initiatives to remove styrofoam packaging. So, you know, there's some great actors out there. And others like, I believe, London Drugs will take your styrofoam from your purchases back and recycle it. So there's some corporate entities that have stepped up to try to solve this, but it is very difficult for municipal systems and therefore quite expensive to add.
Okay, so we have another question. This is from a guest, and they say, obviously the unusable go to the landfill, but how much good recycling ends up in the landfill from lack of buyers, either in Lethbridge or after it goes to the next processor?
Okay, none. So of our recyclables that we process, so far in the first 2 years of operation, less than 10% of what has come in the doors has gone out the doors as residue. Residue is what goes to landfill, and I showed you some of the residue storage in the meeting. So residue, which is non-recyclable product, does go out, and it's about 10% of what we receive. We have successfully marketed all of our products that we've manufactured as products, and we are able to find good markets for good, actually environmentally friendly markets for all the products that we make. So far, that has not been an issue, thankfully.
Great. So we have another question. How many tons are processed on an average day?
On an average day, well, we've just seen an upgrade. We had in the first 2 years, we've been processing about 25 tons a day. That has increased to approximately 30 tons a day just recently with a new customer that we added. So that's putting us at about 70 to 80% capacity of our system. So we still have room for a little bit more to be added if more business recycling or something like that, or another regional customer wants to join our process.
Perfect. Bart would like to know smallest size of plastic recyclables accepted. He also added unmarked plastic bags / containers.
So at our facility in the blue cart, we don't accept plastic bags or film, and we only recycle numbered 1 through 7. So you're looking for that triangular Mobius loop on the product, and it's numbered 1 through 7 containers. So we don't just take all scrap plastic. We take your plastic containers. It's meant to be a packaging recycling, so packaging and printed paper recycling system. So unfortunately, we can't recycle everything plastic. In terms of size, again, that 2-inch by 2-inch size is what we will target. The bigger the item, the easier it is, because plastic recycling is by hand. So the more likely and easier it is for our staff to capture it, the smaller it gets, the harder it is to recover, and probably less likely. If that answers the question, I hope.
Okay, and then our next question is from Peter. How many days per year do you need to operate the wind trigger transfer station? And he also would like to know the cost to build.
I don't know the cost to build that facility offhand here. We operate the transfer station. I'm going to guess, because I don't have that figure either. This was mostly about recycling, this presentation, so I wasn't prepared for that. But I'm going to guess that we would operate that windy weather transfer station somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 days a year for either part or whole day.
Okay, and we have another question from Paul. And he wants to know what happens to PVCs.
PVC. So PVC is sorted into the 3 through 7 plastic mix that we send to our partners who do further sorting and recycling of that material. I don't have the answer at the top of my head what they do with PVC, but their business is recycling 3 through 7 plastic and making sure that it gets to the right place. I could look into that if we want to. I don't know if we're providing responses later.
We could do that because we do have the contact information.
Okay.
All right, so that is all the questions we have right now. Did anyone else want to enter a question into the chat? We do have a little bit more time if you do have any more questions. Okay, we have a few more questions coming in here. Just give it one moment. Okay, we recycle vinyl siding?
No, not at this facility, no. The vinyl siding is not a plastic container, which is what we're focused on, but also it's not something that our system of equipment is set up to sort and process. And lastly, we did have some vinyl come through once and smack a worker in the face because it came flying out of a machine and it acted like a spring because it's just not the right size to go in our process. So unfortunately, no, we can't, and it can even be a little bit harmful when things like that are put in the recycling.
Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in. We do have a little bit of time left. Steve, is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
Oh, I could go on and on, but I feel like I've covered quite a bit of ground with people, and if there's no more questions, I don't know if we want to jump into other areas of the waste and recycling